On paper, Europe looks like a military giant, home to advanced economies, 2 nuclear powers, and large professional armed forces. European Union members spend hundreds of billions on defense, fielding well-trained soldiers, modern navies and sophisticated air forces. The continent projects an image of strength and self-sufficiency, but beneath this facade lies a deep vulnerability. Europe's military strength is heavily reliant on the United States. Without American weapons, intelligence, and logistics, many European armies would struggle to sustain high-intensity operations or project power beyond their borders. American support is the critical component in Europe's military machine. This paradox, a wealthy continent unable to fully defend itself, defines modern European security. Even in routine exercises, European jets often need American aerial tankers, and ground forces rely on U.S. heavy-lift aircraft. In real conflict, this reliance is even more pronounced. From satellite communications to precision munitions, the U.S. provides the enablers that turn European potential into combat power. European leaders talk of strategic autonomy, but their actions, purchasing American hardware and integrating into US-led command structures, tell another story. For over 70 years, Europe has outsourced much of its security to Washington. This arrangement worked during the Cold War and the decades that followed. But as global threats rise and American priorities shift, Europe faces an uncomfortable truth about its own military weakness. The continent's armies are strong, but not truly independent. The question now is whether Europe can adapt before it's forced to stand alone. The illusion of self-sufficiency is fading fast. Europe's reliance on American military hardware is unmistakable. The F-35 stealth jet, made in the US, is becoming the backbone of many European air forces, ordered by the UK, Italy, the Netherlands, Belgium, Poland, Finland, and now Germany. These purchases lock Europe into the US defense ecosystem for decades. The trend extends to missile defense. American-made Patriot systems and Aegis Ashore installations are key to NATO's shield. Even when Germany upgraded its air defenses, it chose an Israeli system co-developed with the US. Boeing's Apache and Chinook helicopters are standard across European armies. The US is Europe's largest arms supplier, a trend that accelerated after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Between 2019 and 2023, US arms exports to Europe nearly doubled. Buying American means more than hardware. It's a commitment to US-controlled maintenance, software, and training. This gives Washington immense leverage and ensures interoperability within NATO, but it also deepens Europe's dependency. Their most advanced equipment is only as effective as their relationship with the US. Europe's arsenals are, in many ways, armed by America. The bond is powerful, but so is the dependency. Europe's military dependence on the US began after World War II, when the continent was devastated and vulnerable to Soviet aggression. The creation of NATO in 1949 formalized the US security guarantee. America would provide the nuclear umbrella and military shield, while Europe rebuilt. American troops, tanks, and aircraft became the core of NATO's power, shaping European defense for generations. After the Cold War, Europe slashed defense budgets, relying even more on the US as the Soviet threat faded. European militaries focused on niche roles, leaving high-end warfare to America. The US invested in stealth, precision weapons, and global surveillance, widening the capability gap. Conflicts in the Balkans, Afghanistan, and Libya exposed Europe's shortfalls, effective, but dependent on US intelligence, air power, and logistics. The Cold War structure of dependency persisted, even after its original purpose disappeared. Europe's security model became one of reliance, not resilience. The shadow of that era still shapes Europe's military reality today. Modern warfare is defined by invisible networks, intelligence, surveillance, communications, that give armies their edge. In these areas, Europe is deeply reliant on the United States. The US operates a vast satellite constellation, providing imagery, secure communications, and GPS. American intelligence agencies collect and share critical data with European allies, often enabling their most sensitive operations. Without this flow of information, Europe's military effectiveness would be severely diminished. Logistics is another shortfall. The US Air Force's heavy lift fleet and aerial refueling capabilities are unmatched in Europe. The 2011 Libya intervention showed this clearly. European air forces led strikes, but depended on US support for transport and refueling. Even NATO's command and control systems are built around American technology and procedures. The US provides the digital backbone that holds the alliance together. These invisible contributions are less visible than new jets but far more decisive. Europe's military power is built on American sinews. Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine was a brutal wake-up call for Europe. The US response was immediate and massive, organizing coalitions, coordinating sanctions, and delivering the bulk of military aid to Kyiv. American weapons like HIMARS, Patriot missiles, and Javelins proved decisive on the battlefield. Europe's own stockpiles, after decades of cuts, were quickly depleted. European armies struggled to replace donated equipment, turning again to the US and South Korea for resupply. The war exposed Europe's lack of industrial capacity for a major conflict. American intelligence, real-time data on Russian movements, was vital for Ukraine's defense. US surveillance drones and satellites became Ukraine's eyes in the sky. The war demonstrated that, in a true crisis, Europe still looks to Washington for leadership, advanced weapons, and critical intelligence. The transatlantic alliance was tested, and Europe's pillar proved unready to stand alone. The lesson was clear: Europe's security is still made in America. Relying on a powerful ally works until it doesn't. The greatest risk for Europe is a US pivot away from the continent, driven by changing priorities or political shifts in Washington. A sudden American withdrawal would leave Europe exposed, shifting the military balance in Russia's favor. Europe is unprepared to fill the gap alone. Even a partial US pullback would strain its capabilities. Without US intelligence, refueling, and transport, European-led missions would be difficult, if not impossible. Dependence on America also limits Europe's strategic freedom. Foreign policy choices are constrained by the need to preserve the security relationship. Europe is a powerful partner, but a junior one. The ultimate peril is the loss of sovereignty, the inability to control its own destiny. The question is, can Europe afford to remain so dependent? Recent crises have spurred Europe to pursue strategic autonomy, the ability to act independently in defense. This doesn't mean leaving NATO, but building a stronger European pillar within it. After Russia's invasion, European nations announced historic defense spending increases. Germany pledged 100 billion euros to modernize its military. Poland is spending 4% of GDP. The EU launched initiatives like the European Defence Fund to foster joint technology and procurement. Projects for a European fighter jet, new tanks, and drones are underway. The goal: fill capability gaps and build an industrial base for autonomy. Leaders like Macron argue Europe can no longer subcontract its security. The ambition is clear and the money is flowing, but the obstacles are immense. The path to European autonomy is blocked by deep divisions. EU members and allies disagree on threats and responses. Eastern states prioritize Russia, while others fear weakening US ties. Europe's defense landscape is fragmented: dozens of armies, incompatible equipment, and inefficient procurement. Overcoming this would require nations to sacrifice national industries for common solutions, a tough political sell. Decades of underinvestment can't be reversed overnight. Rebuilding industrial capacity takes years. Much new spending still goes to American equipment, reinforcing dependency. Leadership is another challenge. The EU isn't designed to command military operations, and France and Germany often disagree on strategy. Acting as a single military power would require unity and a clear command structure, both currently lacking. The hurdles are not just financial, but deeply political and historical. Europe's ambition is real, but the road ahead is long. Europe stands at a crossroads after 70 years of relying on American power. The world is changing. US attention is shifting to the Pacific, and its commitment to Europe is no longer guaranteed. The war in Ukraine proved that peace is fragile, and dependency is risky. Europe's reliance on America is written in arms contracts, intelligence sharing, and battlefield realities. The drive for autonomy is a necessary first step, but the challenges are immense. Achieving self-reliance will require unity, investment, and sustained political will. The temptation to rely on the US will remain, especially if threats recede. The future of European defense is uncertain. Can Europe defend itself, or will it remain a dependent partner? The answer will shape the transatlantic alliance and the global balance of power. For now, Europe is still armed by America, and whether it can arm itself is the great challenge ahead.